I'm just going to rush through this part of the build where I'm reinstalling the lathe onto the stand as it is. I use a couple blocks of 2x4 to raise the height up and give myself some room to reach under the machine. The original bolts were too small and I replaced them with M12 threaded rods, which I cut down using the angle grinder. I'm not utilising the full width of the lathe, so the bars are overhanging, but if for some reason I find myself turning something quite wide, I can always build an extension to the stand. I did not plane the timber before making the panelled doors, instead selecting the straightest pieces I could find. These are already cut to size, although I later realised I'd made a mistake and had to recut them. I'm a mere mortal too, but I'm not going to show you that. To make the channel, I'm using a 1/4 inch 2-flute solid carbide up spiral bit which came from my CNC machine. The router is mounted into a tilting insert base that I also made. These bits are a lot nicer to work with than the straight edge flutes, but they are a little more pricier. When it came to dry assembling the panels, I noticed the fit was a little tight. It turned out that the router started to tilt, which forced the timber pieces askew, thus them not marrying up in the corners. In any case, I took the pieces back to the router table and gave them another pass. I was happier with the second dry assembly and decided to press on gluing the panels together. I think the groove of the panels was a little less than 1 centimeter deep, but I can't remember exactly now. If you'd like to skip the Melodic glue up montage, press the annotated button on screen now. You may have noticed I only have either short or long clams. The long in this case are a little too long. So I sanded the panels and prepared to install them to the stand. I held them up against the frame and they seemed to fit quite tightly. That's a good sign. Now I have a lazy way of hollowing out the mortise for the hinges. I use the table saw. This is probably not the best way to do it, but in any case, I did, and then I overcut the mortise. I've heard it said a good carpenter should know how to hide his or her mistakes, so if you also happen to have a tendency of being a good carpenter every now and then, this part might be of interest. If your hinge is set too deep, the door won't close properly, so you can do one of the following. You can place a piece of card underneath the hinge to lift it, or plane the edge of the panel. But that will increase the gap between the two doors. Mine are tighter rather than looser, so I can get away with the latter, also adding a slight angle towards the front of the door. The final thing I planed was the outer edge of the door so the gap seemed consistent. If you listen carefully, you can even hear the doors sighing in relief. I'm going to leave this video as it is, having run out of editing time this week, but in the next video I will assemble and install a drawer within the cabinet. As always, thanks for watching, and don't feel squeamish about sacrificing a thumb if you enjoyed this video. If you want to catch up with some of the other projects I'm working on, please check out my sister channel where I've recently cracked a personalised catchphrase.